Welcome back to the video lecture series for Introduction to Yardic Programming using Scala. Here we're beginning a new chapter. We're going to talk about direct access files, also called random access files. And so back in chapter 22, we learned about the java.io package, and we learned about streams. In fact, there are input streams and output streams, and we learned how to do binary data with our streams. We used either data input streams and data output streams, or for serialization, object input streams and object output streams. One of the things about streams, though, the whole name stream comes from this idea that data kind of flows by, and once the data is gone, you can't go back to it. So that's kind of the fundamental aspect of the way that a stream works. But sometimes it's nice to be able to jump around inside of a data file. There are certain applications where you need to be able to go from one part of the file to another part of the file. And for this we need these direct access or random access files. And indeed the Java API inside of Java.io has a class called RandomAccessFile. The random access file is both a data output and a data input, so it has the methods that were in both the data input stream and the data output stream. They are represented in here. We can create one by giving it the name of the file or passing the file, and then also giving it a mode. Now, the modes that we have specify if we intend to read from the file, if we intend to read and write from the file, and let's see. Then there is also the ability to add a flag for being synchronous. And the S and D are different options for whether you care about how things are written and updated to the file, because for some applications it does matter how much buffering happens and when the writing happens. For our purposes, we're generally just going to use RW, because we will want to be both reading and writing for a given file. Of course, it's a file, so you can close it. You'll notice there's a whole set of read methods. The read methods do things like reading booleans, bytes, characters, doubles, floats, ints, longs, shorts. And similarly, there are write methods that write all of those same types as well. Now, one of the things that you have to generally be cognizant of when you are using a random access file that wasn't significant to us with streams is we have to know where we are in the file, and we have to be able to jump around. So moving to a location in the file is done with this seek method. So this tells you give it a long, which is the position that you want to be at in the file, and it will jump to that location in the file so that your next read or write happens at that location. And then there is also a what they call get file pointer here, which tells you where you are located in the file, how many bytes into the file you currently are. When you're going to use the random access file, you have to be aware of how big things are, because a lot of times that matters. So for example, if you call, let's say for write, if you write a boolean or write a byte or write chars, doubles, you have to know how many bytes are going to be written out to file, because that informs you for when you're moving around in the file. And so generally the API will tell you these things. So for example, the boolean, it writes out a single byte for that, and it's handy to know what the sizes of things are. Now the Java standard lays these out. So we saw that a boolean is going to be represented by 1 byte. Of course, a byte is represented by 1 byte. The char type in Java is represented by 2 bytes. And so if we come down here to write char, you can see this is a 2-byte value that's written out because it uses Unicode, so it can represent international character sets as well. Beyond the Boolean, byte, and char, we then have, for example, the short type. The short is another 2-byte integer type. The int type is a 4-byte integer type. The long type uses 8 bytes. Floats take 4 bytes, and doubles take 8 bytes. Most of the time, these are things that you don't care too much about when you're doing Scala programming or Java programming. You're generally not getting that close to the machine. These are things that you would normally care about a lot more if you were programming, say, in C or C++. But when you go to using these direct access files, these things can start to be significant. So we'll be referring back to these sizes as we come back in future videos, and we'll look at actually writing values out to file and how being able to move around inside of the file helps us to do certain things.